I have with me the brave CP Gurnani, who's just taken his cap off to make sure that he's visible on camera. Thank you very much, Mr. Gurnani, for speaking to Bloomberg Quint. It promises to be an interesting Davos, mostly because all the attention seems to be focused on Trump and Brexit. Both events are events that will provide headwinds to the IT industry, more so Trump than Brexit. What do you make of what 2017 is looking like this time?
So one is about my hat. I mean, when I looked at you and I said, if you can survive, why can't I?
Parts of my face are going blue, I think.
And coming back to the Davos or this interesting year called year 2017, I know that, clearly President Xi being the almost the face of World Economic Forum Davos this year.
Absolutely.
And in a lot of ways we are seeing things like deglobalization. We are going to talk about localization, and we are going to look at the skill gaps and the unemployment issues. Now, when I look at all of this and the role of IT industry, and particularly Indian IT industry, I think we have a role to play in all of this. So let's first take America, the largest market for the Indian IT industry.
Right.
Clearly, we will have to localize a lot faster. That means we will have to get a little more active in US. And you've seen Tech Mahindra ended up buying LCC, almost a $250 million purchase. You saw Wipro buying Aprio, $500 million purchase. Many of us are also setting up our centers. So, for example, Tech Mahindra has 6 centers in the United States today.
Right.
And we hire local grads. We know that we have to skill them. So localization will definitely increase.
What is the percentage right now, if I may ask? I was just speaking with the Wipro CEO. He made exactly the same point, but he said localization right now across the Indian industry would be about 30-40%. Would that be a fair estimate?
I think it is a fair assumption. And again, the point I'm trying to say is that we will have to accelerate
do
it.
more. Yeah.
We will have to do more. And we have to, change with the winds. And clearly, the winds out there are in favor of localization. And many of the states are also going to talk about localization.
Right.
So I think we will be able to respond. The second part, as far as I'm concerned, is that we also need to remember is technology has no barriers. Clearly, you're talking about now a connected world and a connected experiences. Now, while you are sitting here and you and I are talking in this cold, somebody else is able to watch us in their drawing rooms. The same way data has got no boundaries. So I think co-development, co-innovation and being able to work together will continue to be the mantra. So we will have to adopt, and there is change in the air.
The adaptation part will take some time to happen. The increased localization will take some time to happen. In the meantime, if we do see new restrictions on H-1B visas being applied in the US, have you been able to guesstimate what kind of impact it might have across the industry? And that therefore, whether you think financially, 17-18 will be a tougher year for the IT industry?
I think 17-18 will be a tougher year for everybody. And the only reason I say this with confidence is that globally, economy is about to recover, but it is a very, very slow recovery. And number 2, digital disruption is a reality. Number 3, as I keep repeating, is that inclusiveness is going to be the mantra. You're talking about elections in Germany, you're talking about elections in France, you're talking about potentially elections in Italy, and a definite elections in Netherlands.
Yeah.
I mean, so it is going to be an active year, and I do believe that as we recover and as the industry transforms, this industry 4.0, I mean, I think we will have to wait for industry 5.0 also. And as IoT matures, I think it will be a tougher year, but I personally believe that H1 impact, if it is limited, and I would like to believe it will be limited, because you don't have that many technology workers. I mean, US corporations also need to be globally competitive. And I think the damage will be very, very limited on H1 front.
Can you give me when you say limited, what does that translate into?
So,
in terms of growth
we know
numbers?
that there is a bill which is still not a law.
Yeah.
Right? That is number one. Number two, if I were to look at what we pay today, our average salaries would be in the range of 75 to 80K. And here you're talking about 100K. So clearly there is a marginal impact only because of the salary. But we do need workforce which is mobile between the two countries, US and India. And if we are going to have that mobile workforce, we do need a level of number of work permits, and I'm sure US government and the US public and private sector will realize that they need us as much as we need them.
Okay, fair enough. One last question. We're just now weeks away from the Union Budget 2017. There's a lot of conversation on what the government of India can do to kickstart or jumpstart growth in India. There's some conversation on whether that will mean relaxing sort of fiscal responsibility targets. Where do you see the Jaitley budget going? What do you expect it will achieve? What are your hopes and expectations from it?
So, if I were to look at budget in few weeks, number one, I think it still requires a simplification of the tax regime.
By how much are you expecting the corporate tax rate to be cut?
I'm only not even talking only about the fiscal, regulations. I'm also saying still simplification. A GST means if I as an exporter have to go around registering in all the states,
which you will have to do given this draft.
And if I have to start reporting that much, I think it is only making it complex for a guy who's, almost 95% is exports. So I think I would request again, and we have made this presentation to the GST Council, that simplification on transfer pricing, simplification of the way the law is interpreted. I mean, there can't be a law which requires every time a Big Four to come and help you out interpreting it. So I hope it becomes simplified. Number two, from my perspective, I would like to believe that the need of the hour is skill development. And in a lot of ways, I think as I look at more R&D spend and I look at the way the skills are required to face this VUCA world, I would like to believe that there should be a better allocation towards skill development.
Okay.
Number third, I know that there is a huge focus on digital world. So while we are focusing on digital world, I want to I pray that the cyber security is also taken in the right earnest, because I think we are not sufficiently funded for cyber security.
Okay, but so you expect the budget to do something about this?
I mean, again, it's like a Swachh Bharat says. I personally believe, I'm not saying that I expect
cyber
that.
Cyber security says?
No, but
you didn't really say that, no?
No, think about it. Today, an average corporation, an average government sector spends about 0.2% on cyber security of their IT budgets. Whereas norm is about 7 to 8% of the IT budget on cyber security. Question is that should the government just sit back and let the effectively a government sector or a public sector or a private sector do it on their own, or should they promote it? So as I said, I'm sure there will be a fair amount of focus on the digital India, on the startup India, and I'm sure they will get a fair amount of allocations for that.
I did want to ask you also about the dollar. I think that's one thing that we didn't get a chance to talk about while talking about all the challenges that the US throws up. The Fed's on a upward path. We're already seeing that reflected in bond yields across the world. Is currency going to be a big volatility factor this year?
Clearly yes, because you've seen pound and BREXIT, it's almost down to 1.2.
Yeah.
And then dollar going up. I think it is going to be, and Australia is under severe stress at the same time. So clearly foreign currency is an integral part of our strategy and business planning. And there's very little that we can do to control anything out there. So we just build scenarios and...
what do you think the net impact of all of this? A stronger dollar, weaker pound, what's going on in Australia?
Right now, with our hedging policy, I think we are able to balance it, most of it.
Okay.
But the fact is that hedging is going to costing us money. So it is a one of those things where I would like to say is that we have no control, and we just hope we get a stable, constant currency environment, but then that's wishing too much.
Okay, so you said that localization will cost more, currencies will add costs, and effectively this year, from the Brexit point of view, etc., is looking like a tough one. So it's fair to assume that FY18 margins across IT will be under pressure?
You look at it differently, that you also look at the opportunities that are coming in. The opportunities on the technology spend is actually going up, and there are a lot of areas.
Bits and pieces. It's not the large, big contracts you all used to get at one time. It's very custom. It's very, it's different. The margins, I'm sure, vary differently there. But it's not the kind of business you all used to do at one time. Wouldn't that be fair to say?
But Menka, didn't we have the same situation when we were in year 2000? Didn't we have the same thing in 2001? That suddenly the whole internet world exploded. So the industry has always been able to reposition and rejig ourselves as long as the fundamental spend is increasing. The Gartner says the fundamental spend is increasing by almost 3%, which is pretty good sign for the industry.
I have no doubt about the medium to long term, sort of visibility or the prospects for the industry. I'm saying the next financial year is going to be tougher across the board on margins for all Indian IT players.
Again, anything that I speak will again get transgressed into the word called guidance or being in the silent period.
Not just asking only for your company, I'm saying across the board.
But Menka, I think we all agree that it is going to be. I mean, right from the beginning, I've said it's going to be a tough year.
So FY18 is going to be a tough year.
Yeah, I'm admitting that it is a tough year because you just said the right things. I mean, in terms of Brexit or of an exchange risks or whatever the new administration of Trump will come up with.
All right, Mr. Gurnani, before your nose and mine falls off in this call, we'll wrap it up here on Bloomberg Queen. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in a bit.